stone leather cabin and those all-terrain tires have no business being in the same vehicle. And yet, GMC just built the mid-size SUV that humiliates every crossover in this segment that chose one or the other. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why GMC put Denali-grade luxury inside a vehicle that can handle terrain no Acadia has ever touched before, and why that decision makes more financial sense than anyone at GM will admit publicly. There's one engineering decision in this build that crosses a line in the mid-size segment. I'll get to it. And is this worth the money over a loaded Explorer or Grand Cherokee? My answer depends entirely on how you actually use an SUV. And that's going to surprise some of you. We're covering the exterior, the interior, and the powertrain. But first, word I'm hearing is this build wasn't initiated by GMC's domestic product team. The brief came from somewhere else entirely. Here's what stands out first. And it's not the chrome grille, it's the tire choice. Fitting all-terrain rubber to a Denali-badged Acadia is a statement that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. The Denali name has always meant maximum refinement, not maximum grip. What these images suggest is that GM has finally decided the mid-size luxury crossover buyer wants both, and has been cross-shopping the Acadia against the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe and Ford Explorer Timberline while pretending they haven't. Word I'm hearing is that GM's Performance AWD team was brought in specifically for this variant, the same group that calibrated the Yukon AT4's terrain response. The result is what I'd call Predictive Torque Pre-load AWD. Rather than reacting to wheel spin, the system uses forward camera terrain data and steering angle input to pre-distribute torque front to rear before traction is lost. Think of it as the difference between catching a fall and preventing one. That philosophy, proactive rather than reactive, carries straight into the cabin, and the interior is where this build makes its most surprising argument. Step inside and a contrast with those all-terrain tires becomes almost jarring. The entire cabin runs a stone-and-pebble leather pallet, perforated throughout, stitched with precision, consistent across every seat, door card, and armrest. The dark walnut trim spans the full width of the dashboard in a single unbroken piece. It reads as a considered interior design language, not a trim package. The centerpiece is a portrait orientation touchscreen that appears to be around 15 inches diagonal, mounted on a dedicated pillar with physical HVAC controls retained directly below it. Rotary dials, dedicated buttons, all tactile. For anyone who spent a winter in the Midwest trying to adjust heat while wearing gloves, that retained physical control layer is not a small thing. It's the right engineering call for a vehicle that's going to see actual weather. Speculative tech number 2, what I'd call terrain NVH filtering, an active acoustic management system that reads road surface vibration signature through the suspension sensors and adjusts the cabin's speaker array to counteract low-frequency drones specific to gravel, hardpack, and corrugated dirt. The hardware exists in the Bose active noise cancellation platform GM already runs. Applying it specifically to off-road surface profiles is the next logical step. Where I think they've left something on the table is ambient lighting. Every competitor in this price bracket, Explorer Platinum, Grand Cherokee Summit, runs a full cabin lighting architecture. What I'm seeing here is restrained. At $55,000 plus, the buyer expects the cabin to have a presence after dark. This one doesn't quite get there. The interior earns its Denali badge. Now let's look at whether the exterior backs it up structurally. Here's the piece of the origin story I mentioned at the open. The brief for this build reportedly came from GMC's Fleet and Commercial division, specifically a request from national park concessionaires who needed an upmarket transport capable of unpaved access roads. That's not a consumer brief, that's a professional use case, and it explains every engineering decision you're about to see on the exterior. Start at the front. The chrome horizontal bar grille is the standard Denali signature, but the lower fascia integrates functional lower intakes that are sized for sustained cooling under low-speed, high-load terrain use, not just highway airflow. The headlight clusters use full LED arrays with angular chrome surrounds that reinforce the premium positioning without adding visual mass. The all-terrain tires, appearing to be 265 section width on multi-spoke 20-inch wheels, are the most structurally significant choice on this vehicle. At that section width, You gain meaningful lateral stability on loose surfaces without meaningfully compromising highway comfort. The sidewall height looks generous, which is correct for a terrain-capable crossover. More air volume absorbs surface irregularities before the suspension has to. Rear, clean diffuser-style lower fascia with twin exhaust cutouts that are correctly proportioned, not oversized for drama. The full-width LED taillight bar and GMC badge in illuminated red make a strong visual statement at distance. At approximately 194 inches overall length with 112-inch wheelbase, this is a properly sized 3-row crossover. Ground clearance with the AT tires and apparent suspension calibration looks to be in the 8.5 to 9-inch range. That's legitimate for unpaved road use. The exterior makes the capability promise. Here's whether the powertrain can keep it. The 2026 Acadia Denali runs a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, producing 328 horsepower, paired with an 8-speed automatic and standard AWD. That's competitive. For context, the Ford Explorer ST delivers 400 horsepower from its twin-turbo 3.0, more peak output, but in a platform tuned for pavement, not mixed terrain. Speculative tech number 3. GPS Integrated Terrain Mode Prediction. The system reads map topography and upcoming road classification data to pre-select the correct AWD mode before the surface changes beneath the wheels. On a mountain approach to a trailhead, the system shifts from highway to terrain calibration a quarter mile before the pavement ends. No input required, no delay penalty. For anyone who regularly drives from suburb to trailhead and then back to a restaurant, that seamless transition is the feature that actually changes the ownership experience. The Grand Cherokee 4xe makes a similar promise. This approach is simpler and more reliable because it doesn't depend on electrification to deliver it. All of that brings us to the question that actually matters. Is this worth it?
Now, here's what I actually think, and I want to be completely straightforward with you. GMC built this because the mid-size luxury crossover segment has been split between buyers who want capability and buyers who want refinement, and both groups have been compromising. The Terrain X stops that compromise. That's a real market argument, not a marketing one.
Pricing. A fully configured 2026 Acadia Denali Ultimate with the Terrain X package is expected to sit between $58,000 and $64,000. Context: a Grand Cherokee Summit Reserve runs $62,000. A loaded Explorer Platinum lands at $58,000. The Acadia positions itself in the middle of that range, but with a more coherent interior specification than either competitor at equivalent price points. On depreciation. Mid-size Denali variants have held value reasonably well, typically in the 47 to 52% range at 5 years. The Terrain X differentiation should protect that floor slightly, provided the AWD capability claims hold under real-world testing. Specialty packages on mainstream platforms tend to hold better than standard trims in this bracket. Here's the call. If you're someone who splits time between school drop-off and weekend trail access, and you've been compromising on one or the other, this is the strongest mid-size option in the segment right now. The interior quality is genuine, and the terrain engineering is purposeful. If you need 3 rows and pure highway comfort above everything else, the Traverse Denali at $52,000 is the more rational answer. But if you want the capability without giving up the leather, this is where I'd put the money. And that engineering decision I mentioned at the open? Predictive Torque Pre-load AWD in a mid-size luxury crossover is a segment first. That's the thing that makes this more than a visual upgrade. At the open, I said that stone, leather, and all-terrain tires had no business being in the same vehicle. Having walked through the engineering, turns out that's exactly the point. GMC didn't compromise between capability and refinement. They engineered for both. Whether the market rewards that decision is the more interesting question. I'd love your take, especially if you've cross-shopped the Acadia against a Grand Cherokee. Drop it below. Acadia Terrain X versus Grand Cherokee 4xe. That's the next one. Subscribe if this kind of analysis is what you're here for. See you then.